Imagine walking into a car dealership, casually browsing the latest models. You have no intention of making a purchase. But then, a salesman approaches. Within minutes, you find yourself nodding along to his pitch, warming up to the idea of buying a car. Before you know it, you've signed the papers for a car you didn't even plan to buy. How did this happen? What invisible forces were at play? The truth is, your decision was influenced by psychological tactics designed to manipulate your behavior without you even realizing it. These persuasion techniques are so subtle that your conscious mind cannot catch them. They work in the background, much like a magic pill you take before a conversation begins. You think you're in control, but you are not. In this video, we will explore these tricks and show you how they operate. By the end, you'll know exactly how to spot them and protect yourself from being unknowingly influenced. The power of subtle influences. Let's start by exploring one of the most powerful tools used in persuasion, the unity principle. Developed by Dr. Robert Cialdini, the unity principle states that people are more likely to say yes to someone they believe shares a common identity with them. This principle plays on our natural tendency to trust and cooperate with those who we perceive as part of our group, whether that group is based on shared experiences, family ties, or even professional backgrounds. For example, consider an experiment where a very attractive man approaches women in a shopping mall, asking for their phone numbers. Giving your phone number to a complete stranger is risky, right? Yet, when this man approached women standing in front of a flower shop, he got significantly more yes compared to other locations. Why? Because flowers are subconsciously associated with romance, and that connection influenced the women's behavior. When asked later if the flower shop had anything to do with their decision, the women denied it. They insisted they made a conscious choice. But in reality, the flowers had triggered an unconscious emotional response that shaped their decision. Subtle environmental cues. But it's not just about physical objects. Environmental cues can have the same powerful effect. Take the case of a salesperson trying to sell a $75,000 product. Whenever he mentioned the price, potential clients would either negotiate for a lower price or walk away. The salesperson was losing sales, so he decided to experiment with a simple but effective technique. Before mentioning the price, he would say, "Well, obviously, I can't charge you $1 million for this product." The result? The $75,000 price suddenly seemed much more reasonable in comparison to the exaggerated $1 million figure. This tactic worked because it changed the way customers perceived the price. The context of comparing it to an extreme price made the original price seem more acceptable. This is a prime example of how the perception of value can be manipulated through simple framing techniques. Psychological influence through words. Words can be just as powerful as objects and context. In one experiment, a marketer wanted people to try a new energy drink but faced resistance because it was a new product. Instead of directly asking people to give it a try, the marketer first asked, "Do you consider yourself an adventurous person?" Most people answered, "Yes." And then, when offered the energy drink, they agreed to try it. Why? Because the word adventurous activated a self-perception that aligned with trying something new. This subtle word choice made people feel like trying the product was consistent with their identity, and as a result, they agreed. The unity principle in action. Let me share a personal experience where I encountered the unity principle firsthand. I was meeting with a banker to discuss investment products. None of the products he showed me initially piqued my interest, and I was about to tune out. But then, just before introducing the next product, he said something that grabbed my attention. "The next product I'm going to talk about is one that I would recommend even to my mother." Immediately, I felt a sense of trust toward both the banker and the product. Why? He invoked the unity principle. By positioning himself as someone who shared my values and concerns, someone who would recommend the product to his own mother, he created an instant bond. This made me far more receptive to his pitch. This is a powerful tactic, and it isn't limited to personal interactions. Consider how Warren Buffett used a similar strategy when discussing his succession plan for Berkshire Hathaway. He reassured investors by saying, "I would say this to my family." The language he used made investors feel like they were part of the same family in his vision for the company. This created a sense of shared identity and made his words far more convincing. Visual cues and their influence. Environmental and visual cues also have an undeniable impact. In one experiment, researchers showed participants a picture of a household object, but with different background images. The groups were divided as follows. One group saw a picture with a lone person, another saw two people standing apart, and the third group saw two people standing closely together, shoulder to shoulder. When items were dropped on the floor to see who would help, the results were striking. In the first two groups, only 20% of people offered help. But in the third group, where the image showed two people standing shoulder to shoulder, the likelihood of helping tripled. This experiment shows how even babies, who had no logical reasoning skills, were influenced by the visual cues of unity and togetherness. They instinctively responded to the image of closeness, which influenced their actions. Ethics of using persuasion. Understanding these principles is crucial, but it's just as important to use them ethically. Manipulating someone's behavior without their knowledge or consent crosses a line. It can lead to situations where people feel manipulated, and they may end up making decisions that are not in their best interest. For example, if a salesperson uses these psychological techniques unethically, they may close a sale, but they'll create a sense of distrust in the long run. Employees will notice when they're being manipulated, and this can create a toxic culture. The same goes for customers. Once they feel manipulated, they're less likely to trust the brand again. Practical tips for ethical use of persuasion. Now that you understand how these principles work, let's look at 6 practical ways to apply them ethically in your life or business. Give gifts to a client's family. If you're offering a product or service to a client, consider giving it to their family members. Family connections activate the strongest form of unity. Use the word advice instead of feedback. If you want someone to collaborate with you, asking for advice makes them feel like they're part of the decision-making process, rather than just offering an opinion. Ask for a salary raise after positive feedback. If you've received compliments or achieved something noteworthy at work, this is the best time to ask for a raise. This approach leverages the principle of timing and the positive context of your recent achievements. Use shared identity to increase donations. If you're a student raising money for a cause, mention that you are also a student. This activates the unity principle, making people feel connected to your cause. Decorate your space to align with your goals. Visual cues have a powerful influence on our mindset. By decorating your environment with motivational phrases, reminders of your goals, or symbols of success, you can influence your own behavior positively. Shift someone's mindset before delivering a difficult message. If you need to make a request that someone may resist, start by reminding them of a time when you both worked together to overcome a challenge. This makes them more receptive to your request, reducing defensiveness. The principle of reciprocity. The principle of reciprocity is one of the most fundamental psychological strategies used in persuasion. It operates on the idea that humans have an inherent need to return a favor when someone does something for them. This principle is deeply ingrained in our social behavior and has been essential for the survival of human communities. The concept is straightforward. If someone gives us something, whether it be a gift, a favor, or an act of kindness, we often feel compelled to reciprocate. In marketing and sales, the principle of reciprocity is often used to great effect. One common example is when businesses offer free trials, samples, or gifts. Think about when you receive a free sample in a store. Most people feel a sense of obligation to purchase the product after accepting the free sample. This is the power of reciprocity in action. The more meaningful the gesture, the stronger the feeling of obligation. A small act of kindness, like offering a free sample or a free consultation, can increase the chances of a sale dramatically. In business negotiations, reciprocity can also be a powerful tool. By making the first concession or offering something to the other party, you create a feeling of obligation for them to reciprocate, often resulting in a better outcome for both sides. However, this principle can be weaponized. Some marketers use free gifts or services with the intention of leading the customer toward a future purchase, knowing that the customer will feel compelled to buy something out of a sense of obligation. Understanding this principle allows individuals to become more discerning consumers. Recognizing when someone is trying to use reciprocity to influence your decision can help you resist making impulsive choices. On the flip side, understanding how to ethically apply reciprocity can help build stronger relationships and trust, whether in business or personal contexts. The foot in the door technique. The foot in the door technique is a subtle yet powerful persuasion strategy based on the principle of consistency. It works by getting someone to agree to a small request first, then following up with a larger request. The idea is that once someone has committed to a small action, they are much more likely to agree to a larger request because it aligns with their previous behavior. This principle takes advantage of our internal desire to appear consistent in our actions. Psychologists have long studied this phenomenon. In one famous experiment, researchers asked homeowners to put a small sign in their yard that read, "Drive carefully." A few weeks later, they returned to the same homes and asked the homeowners to display a much larger and more intrusive sign promoting safe driving. Astonishingly, people who had agreed to the small sign were much more likely to agree to the large sign request, even though it was much more prominent. The reason this technique is so effective lies in human nature. People don't like to appear inconsistent. Once we make a commitment, even a small one, we feel the psychological need to remain consistent with it. This is why the foot in the door technique works so well in sales, politics, and even in personal relationships. In sales, a typical example might involve asking a person to sign up for a free newsletter or take a short survey. After they have made that small commitment, it becomes much easier to ask for a larger commitment, such as purchasing a product or making a donation. Politicians use this principle when they ask for small actions of support, like signing a petition, before asking for larger contributions, like voting or donating money. Understanding this principle helps you recognize when you are being influenced through this method. It also teaches you how to use it responsibly in your own interactions. The key is ensuring that both the small and larger requests align with the individual's values and are ethical. The door-in-the-face technique. The door-in-the-face technique is another persuasive tactic used to influence decision-making. It works by making an initial, large request that is almost certain to be refused, followed by a much smaller, more reasonable request. The key idea behind this technique is that the first, large request makes the second, smaller request seem much more reasonable and likely to be accepted. This strategy plays on the principle of reciprocity and the concept of concession. When you ask for something large and then concede, by offering a smaller, more manageable request, the person you're trying to influence feels compelled to reciprocate. They subconsciously feel that they have to return the favor by agreeing to the smaller request. Essentially, the tactic works because the person you're persuading feels that you've made a reasonable concession, and they should respond in kind. One of the classic examples of the door-in-the-face technique can be found in negotiations. Let's say you're negotiating a deal. You start by asking for something extreme, something you don't actually expect to get. When the other party rejects it, you then ask for something more reasonable, often the very thing you initially wanted. Because the larger request has been made, the smaller one seems more acceptable, and the other party is more likely to agree. In fundraising, a nonprofit organization might initially ask for a large donation, knowing that most people will decline. After this, they will ask for a smaller contribution, and since the initial request seemed unreasonable, the second, smaller request is much more likely to be agreed upon. Understanding this technique helps you recognize when it is being used to manipulate you and also how to apply it strategically and ethically. Anchoring effect. The anchoring effect is a cognitive bias where people rely heavily on the first piece of information they are given, the anchor, when making decisions. This initial information becomes a reference point, and subsequent information is judged in relation to it. The anchoring effect is powerful because people tend to give disproportionate weight to the first number or piece of data they encounter, whether it's a price, a figure, or an estimate. For example, in sales, if a retailer shows a high-priced item first, any subsequent items, even if they are less expensive, will seem like a better deal. If you see a $500 jacket first, and then a $100 jacket, you might perceive the $100 jacket as a bargain, even if it is still overpriced in comparison to its actual market value. This is how the anchoring effect can manipulate perception and decision-making without the individual even realizing it. The anchoring effect is often used in retail pricing, where a high initial price is set for a product or service, and discounts or deals are then applied. By comparing the discounted price to the original price, marketers create a sense of value and urgency that encourages people to buy. In negotiations, the anchoring effect also plays a major role. For instance, if you're negotiating a salary and the employer initially offers a low figure, that low number will often serve as an anchor, making any subsequent offer seem more reasonable. Understanding this effect helps you be more aware of how your judgments may be skewed by the first piece of information you receive. By being conscious of the anchor, you can make better, more informed decisions. The power of timing. Timing is often the key to successful persuasion. People are more likely to agree to a request or make a decision when the timing is right. When someone is in a positive mood or after they've received praise or recognition, they are more likely to be persuaded to act in favor of the person making the request. Timing plays a significant role in the foot in the door and door in the face techniques, but it also operates independently. For instance, imagine you've just received a compliment or positive feedback at work. If your boss or colleague were to ask you for a favor immediately after, you would likely be more inclined to say yes, even if the request is somewhat challenging. The emotional state you are in after receiving positive reinforcement makes you more open to cooperation and agreement. Sales and marketing campaigns also capitalize on timing. Salespeople know that customers are more likely to make a purchase at specific times, such as during special promotions, holiday seasons, or after positive interactions. This is why marketers often use specific timing in their campaigns to create urgency, such as offering a limited time discount or announcing sales at the perfect moment. Understanding the power of timing can make you a more effective communicator and persuader. Knowing when to ask for a favor or make a request based on someone's emotional state or the situation at hand can significantly increase your chances of success. Timing is a powerful tool, but it must be used ethically and with the awareness that people's emotional states can be easily influenced. Fear of missing out, FOMO. Fear of missing out, or FOMO, is a powerful is often used in marketing campaigns that emphasize scarcity, like only 2 left in stock, or limited time offer. The urgency created by these phrases triggers a fear that the individual may miss out if they don't act quickly. The fear of missing out is amplified when the product or service is positioned as exclusive or desirable. FOMO is also a powerful tool in social settings. People often feel compelled to attend events or make purchases because they perceive that others are doing the same. Social media platforms, in particular, capitalize on this by showing posts about what friends or influencers are doing, creating a sense of urgency to participate in popular trends or activities. While FOMO can drive people to make decisions quickly, it can also lead to regret. Understanding how FOMO works allows individuals to make more informed decisions, rather than succumbing to impulsive purchases or choices driven by anxiety. The social proof principle. The social proof principle operates on the idea that people tend to follow the actions of others, especially in situations where they are uncertain or lack knowledge. Social proof is often used to validate decisions and behaviors, making them seem more acceptable or correct simply because others are engaging in the same behavior. One common example is online reviews. Before making a purchase, people often look at what others have said about a product or service. If a product has positive reviews and high ratings, it creates a sense of validation and trust, making others more likely to buy. Social proof is also widely used in advertising, where companies often highlight how many customers have bought a particular product, how popular an item is, or how many people recommend it. The concept of social proof is also used in behaviors like following the crowd. For example, if everyone is attending a particular event or doing a specific activity, individuals are more likely to do the same, even if they have no particular interest in it. People are wired to seek social validation, and social proof exploits this tendency. By understanding the social proof principle, you can make more independent decisions and resist following the crowd simply because others are doing so. At the same time, understanding how social proof influences others can make you more effective in influencing their behavior. The halo effect. The halo effect is a cognitive bias that causes us to assume that if someone excels in one area, they must be equally talented in other areas. Essentially, the halo effect means that a person's overall impression influences how we perceive their specific traits or qualities. This bias is particularly prominent in marketing, sales, and social interactions. For example, when a celebrity endorses a product, people tend to believe the product is of high quality, simply because they like or admire the celebrity. The positive traits associated with the celebrity spill over and affect how we view the product. Similarly, if a person is physically attractive, they are often assumed to be more intelligent, friendly, and competent, even if there is no evidence to support these assumptions. Marketers use the halo effect to great advantage by associating their products or brands with celebrities, attractive individuals, or other positive images. This creates a favorable overall impression of the product, which in turn influences purchasing decisions. This is why companies often use perfect spokespersons or high-profile endorsements. They know that the halo effect will make their product appear better than it might be in reality. While the halo effect can be used to boost a product's appeal, it can also cause us to make judgments based on incomplete or biased information. By being aware of the halo effect, we can better assess people, products, and situations based on objective criteria, rather than relying on superficial impressions. The contrast effect. The contrast effect is a psychological principle where people make judgments about something by comparing it to something else. In essence, the way we perceive one thing is influenced by what we have seen or experienced before. This principle is particularly powerful in sales and marketing. For example, imagine a salesperson shows you a high-priced product first, and then follows it with a less expensive option. Even though the second product may still be expensive, it will seem like a bargain in comparison to the initial one. The contrast effect is why companies often display high-end products first, followed by lower-priced alternatives, in order to make the second item seem like a better deal. This effect can also be used in salary negotiations. If an employee asks for a high salary, then reduces it slightly, the employer may view the new request as more reasonable because it is being contrasted with the first, higher figure. Understanding the contrast effect helps you recognize when your perception is being skewed by the comparisons being made. It also allows you to use this tactic responsibly, making sure that you're presenting your product or request in an ethical way that reflects its true value. The power of liking. The power of liking is one of the most effective and widely used principles of persuasion. It's based on the simple fact that people are more likely to say yes to requests from individuals they like. This principle is fundamental in both personal relationships and professional interactions because it capitalizes on one of the most basic human instincts, the desire to cooperate and engage with those we find appealing or similar to us. Whether it's in sales, marketing, or negotiations, building rapport and creating a sense of familiarity is a tactic that can yield significant results. However, understanding how and why this principle works is key to using it ethically and effectively. How liking influences decisions. Human beings are naturally inclined to form relationships with others who are similar to them, whether through shared interests, values, or experiences. In essence, we gravitate toward people who reflect aspects of ourselves. This inherent tendency to trust people we like can be traced back to evolutionary psychology. Historically, forming alliances with others who share common ground or interests would have been advantageous for survival. In a modern context, This translates to a fundamental social bias. People are more likely to trust and agree to requests from those they find likable, relatable, or familiar. One of the most striking aspects of the liking principle is how similarity influences our judgment. When we perceive someone as like us, we automatically start projecting positive qualities onto them. For example, if you meet someone who shares your passion for a particular hobby or profession, you are more likely to feel an emotional connection with that person. This connection fosters trust and, as a result, increases the likelihood that you will be persuaded by their ideas, suggestions, or requests. Whether it's a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger in a sales setting, the likelihood of a successful interaction increases when there's a sense of shared identity or mutual understanding. This principle also applies to attractiveness, not just physical attractiveness, but also perceived likability. Studies have shown that we tend to attribute more positive qualities to people who are physically attractive, regardless of their actual competencies or abilities. This tendency, often referred to as the halo effect, is a powerful way in which physical appearance can influence our decision-making and persuade us to engage more deeply with a person or brand. Companies often use celebrities or charismatic personalities in their marketing campaigns because their likability and positive attributes rub off on the products they endorse. Why the liking principle works in persuasion. In persuasive contexts, liking is often used to create a sense of connection and mutual respect between individuals. Salespeople, for example, use likability as one of their main tools for converting prospects into buyers. A key reason why likable salespeople are more successful is because they create an environment where the potential customer feels comfortable. If you like the salesperson and feel that they understand your needs, you are more likely to trust their recommendations and buy what they're selling. This is not because the product is inherently better, but because you trust the person making the pitch. Moreover, compliments are often used strategically to increase likability. Compliments, when sincere and meaningful, can make a person feel valued and appreciated. This results in a stronger bond between the person giving the compliment and the one receiving it. Marketers and negotiators have learned that a well-timed, genuine compliment can break down barriers and open the door for further persuasion. However, it's important that these compliments are authentic. Insincere flattery is often detected and can backfire. Similarly, cooperation and shared goals also play a significant role in enhancing likability. When people work together toward a common objective, they tend to form positive associations with one another. In a business context, this is why team-based activities, brainstorming sessions, and collaborative projects are often used to foster better relationships between colleagues. When individuals feel they are cooperating towards a mutual goal, they are more likely to like and trust each other. This dynamic also enhances communication and the likelihood of achieving a positive outcome. How liking is used in marketing and sales. The concept of likability is at the core of many marketing and advertising strategies. From using celebrity endorsements to employing charismatic spokespeople, brands are always seeking ways to use likability to their advantage. Celebrity endorsements are particularly effective because they not only introduce a product to a larger audience, but also convey a sense of trustworthiness and prestige. People like to associate themselves with successful, popular, or attractive figures, and marketers leverage this psychological tendency to sell products. Furthermore, social proof is closely tied to the liking principle. When people see others enjoying or buying a product, they are more likely to trust the product themselves, simply because others like it. This is why testimonials and reviews are such powerful marketing tools. If you know that others like or endorse a product, you are more likely to believe it is a good choice, and the likability of those endorsing it can have a major impact on your decision-making. Additionally, personalization is a powerful way to increase likability in marketing. Brands that make an effort to create personalized experiences or messages are often more successful in building trust and rapport with their customers. Personalization makes customers feel that the brand understands them on an individual level, which strengthens their connection to the product or service being offered. The dark side of liking. While the liking principle can be used for positive influence, it can also be easily exploited. The most important aspect of ethical persuasion is transparency. Manipulating someone's emotions or using compliments and shared experiences in a disingenuous way can lead to manipulation rather than genuine influence. This is where the fine line lies between persuasion and manipulation. For instance, using the liking principle to create a false sense of trust or affection is a form of manipulation. If a salesperson pretends to have an emotional connection with a customer purely to make a sale, that's unethical. Similarly, a politician or leader who uses their charm and likability to sway opinions without any substance behind their words can exploit people's natural desire to feel connected to others for their own gain. Thus, the key to using likability effectively is to ensure that it's rooted in authenticity. People will be more willing to cooperate and agree to requests when they feel that the likability is genuine, rather than a tactic used to exploit them. //////. As we conclude, remember this: persuasion is powerful. It can be used to help or hurt. It can influence decisions, shape behaviors, and even change lives. But it is your responsibility to use it ethically. If you don't, not only can it backfire, but you could also lose the trust of those around you. So, be aware of these tricks, and the next time you find yourself in a situation where someone is trying to persuade you, pause and think: are they using these principles ethically? And most importantly, are you using them responsibly? If you found this video helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with others. Understanding these psychological tricks can help you make more informed decisions and protect yourself from manipulation. Stay aware, stay in control, and I'll see you in the next video.